We now present For the Record.
Welcome to For the Record. I'm Will Keneally. Major news out of the universities of Wisconsin this week as the UW Board of Regents finally agreed to a deal with the state legislature over pay raises and building investments. Now I say finally because last Saturday the regents voted down the same proposal. But after speaking to stakeholders, enough regents flipped their votes to approve the deal. Now it was a tough process, according to Universities of Wisconsin President Jay Rothman. The trade-off from the universities is that they would need to freeze hires for diversity, equity, and inclusion for 3 years and assign a third of existing employees to other positions. Here's more from the wake of the regents' vote on Wednesday.
This was an arduous and it was a challenging process.
But those months of negotiations are now over, with the Board of Regents meeting for a second time this week to vote on the proposal. What you're seeing here is the first vote last Saturday. It ultimately failed. Now this regent, Amy Blumenfeld-Bogost, was one of the swing votes rejecting the plan on Saturday. By Wednesday, she had changed her mind.
We simply can't ignore the immense challenges facing our universities. It is clear that this compromise resolution, which includes a much-needed increase for our university's employee compensation, among other things, will allow the universities of Wisconsin to continue to pursue opportunities for all underdeserved students.
Campus chancellors, including Corey King of Whitewater, argued their commitment to DEI will not be diminished despite the cuts.
I will not deny that these are challenging times and finding pathways can be difficult in many circumstances. Let me be clear that our collective commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion and belonging is unwavering.
These are all desperately needed within the universities of Wisconsin, and this will be a big boost. It is not the end. We are still funded at the level of 42nd out of 50 in the nation in terms of funding for public university systems, but this is a step forward. In my judgment, this was a compromise and an agreement that I now expect the legislature to move forward with.
All right. The agreement, though, will have a significant impact on UW faculty and staff, unlocking pay raises for those employees. And joining us now is Michael Bernard Donalds, a professor of English and Jewish Studies at UW-Madison, also president of Profs, which is an organization representing faculty on campus. And thanks so much for joining us.
Sure, thanks. Good to be with you.
Yeah, so what's your initial reaction to the vote from the board this week?
I mean, I can imagine that this was an incredibly difficult decision for members of the Board of Regents, you know, as is evident from the fact that they had to do the vote twice. Robin Voss put Chancellor Mnuchin and President Rothman and the Board of Regents in an incredibly difficult position. The vote could have gone either way. I mean, it did go both ways, clearly. The arrangement provides some good things for the universities of Wisconsin, but Representative Voss made it abundantly clear that he has it in for diversity, equity, and inclusion at the universities, and he forced a decision that I think is going to set us back some in that area.
So one of the bigger pieces of this proposal were the pay raises for faculty, and it's obviously kind of unique for someone who have their raises tied to the state legislature. How important was it for you all and the faculty to secure those raises?
It was important to have the increases that were passed in the budget this summer and were signed into law by Governor Evers. I think those pay raises especially make a difference for university employees who are less well compensated than faculty members. This includes members of the university staff and some members of the academic staff. You know, the inflation of the past year has really taken a bite out of people's take-home pay, and it was really crucial, I think, for especially the lower wage folks at the university to get those increases. You're right to say that it's unusual for things to be done this way. I don't know of many states where a budget can be passed that includes pay raises and then a committee of the legislature, not the full committee, or not the full legislature, but a committee of the legislature can essentially withhold those pay raises and do what Representative Voss did here by forcing the university into an incredibly difficult position.
So I get the sense that, as you were mentioning before, there are different people kind of stuck in the middle between these negotiations. I feel like that includes faculty here. Had profs taken a stance on the proposal? Were they asking anything of the regents going into either of these votes?
Profs didn't take a position going into the negotiations, nor did we take a position on the deal that was announced, but before it was decided. I think, like a lot of people, we knew that this was going to be difficult for the regents. I know it was difficult for President Rothman and Chancellor Mnuchin. I know there are aspects of the deal that both of them were uncomfortable with, and it's clear that the regents were also very uncomfortable with aspects of this arrangement having to do with the curtailment of diversity positions. Profs will have a statement out later today, and it should be available. But that statement essentially says what I've just said here, which is that the arrangement, it does provide some good things for the universities of Wisconsin and the UW-Madison, but it threatens to erode our initiatives in the diversity space because of Representative Boss's fairly narrow ideological position on that.
And so we're expecting this, obviously, to keep happening with each budget cycle every 2 years. Where do you expect the negotiations to go from here, from your perspective?
I really don't know. I know that a number of legislators and members of the regents worried about this, that this is precedent setting. There's no guarantee that this won't, as you say, happen again. One of the things that's especially alarming about this is that it violates what I think of as the separation of powers clauses in the state constitution. And I know that Governor Evers is suing the legislature for essentially making it possible for committees to override laws that have been passed and signed. Profs is working, I think, to serve as an intervener should that lawsuit go forward.
Professor Michael Bernard Donalds, thanks so much for joining us, especially during finals week. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Will. Good to be with you.
Now, when we come back, the Biden campaign is already starting to lay down its ground game ahead of 2024. We'll sit down with a campaign official about what that means for us here in the Badger State when we come back.
This portion of News 3 Now is sponsored by Madison Gas and Electric.
You're the people who make junk disappear?
We brought a whole truckload of magic.
1-800-GOT-JUNK, I love you.
We make junk disappear. All you have to do is point.
Are record energy costs putting a squeeze on your fixed or limited incomes? With inflation rising at record levels and incomes not keeping pace, you might be one of tens of thousands of Wisconsin residents who are struggling to survive in the blistering heat of summer or the bitter cold of winter. While you haven't asked for it, the Keep Wisconsin Warm Cool Fund and your local energy assistance providers are here to help. No Wisconsin resident should ever have to face the challenge of living without heat or power or face homelessness. For a hand up, apply today and call 1-800-506-5596. That's 800-506-5596. Or visit www.kwwf.org.
Burning the candle at both ends this holiday season? Well, if it's Z's you need, the holiday sale at Denver Mattress has you covered. And right now, everything is on sale, like the budget-friendly Summit Queen for only $332.49. Or check out Easy Choice Plush or Firm, now just $474.99. Get a $300 gift when you purchase any Tempur-Pedic, plus 5 years, no interest financing, and free shipping right to your doorstep. The holiday sale, on now at Denver Mattress.
You're the people who make junk disappear?
We brought a whole truckload of magic.
1-800-GOT-JUNK, I love you.
We make junk disappear. All you have to do is point.
Welcome back. This week marked the one-year anniversary of the signing of the Respect for Marriage Act. Even though same-sex marriage has been legal in the U.S. since 2015, the law officially repealed the 1990s-era Defense of Marriage Act. There's a major push for one of our Wisconsin senators, Democrat Tammy Baldwin.
By passing this bill and having it signed into law by President Biden, we have told so many couples that we see you and we respect you.
And it's also been a win that the Biden administration is touting. And joining us now is a spokesperson for the Biden 2024 campaign, Kevin Munoz. And thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So we've seen same-sex marriage allowed here in the country for the last 8 years. How impactful is this law to codify that?
Well, look, what's really important, what we saw after the Dobbs decision, was that MAGA Republicans, whether they're on the Supreme Court or they're elected officials in state houses across the country, they've made very clear they want to take away Americans' fundamental freedoms. And they said very clearly that they're not going to stop just at the right for a woman to choose, but actually go after same-sex marriage. So we are incredibly grateful for Senator Baldwin and the president, who spearheaded a bipartisan effort to make sure that we are codifying the protection for every American to love who they love. I do want to be clear, though, this is an important step, but we have to make clear that in this election next year, we have to think about how LGBTQ Americans are impacted by existing laws that allow denial of service at restaurants and things like that. So we have to run on the Equality Act.
I was going to say, too, as a campaign issue, we think of things like the economy and abortion ranking pretty highly. How much are people paying attention to this as a campaign issue?
Look, we know that freedom and democracy are on the ballot in November 2024. This is the freedom for every woman to make her own healthcare decision, the freedom of every person, including our children at school, to be safe from gun violence, and absolutely the freedom of every American to be who they are without interference, without attacks from their elected officials. We're seeing on the campaign trail MAGA Republicans using our community as political pawns. The Speaker of the House has openly mused whether homosexuality should be criminalized. So we have to talk about this within the lens of the reality. Do we want to have more rights or less? And that's on the ballot.
So I want to look ahead to 2024 here. We have the RNC coming to Wisconsin. What's the campaign's overall goal for the Badger State?
Look, Wisconsin is a critical state that sent the president to the White House in 2020. And we are investing early and often in this state because we know that it's going to be incredibly close, like it always is in Wisconsin. We're encouraged by the fact that we have been up on the airwaves, including in the largest and earliest investment into African-American media since August. Wisconsin is one of 2 states that the Biden campaign is piloting a new way of organizing focused on young voters and African-American voters. So it is going to be close, but we are putting in the work to win next November.
We're seeing the Republican field kind of narrow here, winnow down a little bit. Do you have a sense of, from your perspective, who you'd want to have the president run against?
Look, the president has been very clear, and this campaign is clear. We are prepared to run against every Republican in this field. They are all a part of the toxic and losing MAGA agenda led by Donald Trump, who's clearly winning in the polls right now. But they are all supportive of tax cuts for the billionaires, a national abortion ban, and siding with the gun lobby over our own children.
So in Wisconsin here, we have our Marquette Law School poll. It shows the president's net favorability in Wisconsin is -14. That's taken from a poll in late October. Now, Trump has been a little bit worse than that, but we haven't seen too many people not have an opinion about the president. Just kind of curious what you do to sway some of those sentiments as they seem that they are pretty entrenched.
Yeah, look, I think for us, what's really important, and we say it often here, is polls don't vote, voters do. And Wisconsin, look no further, is a state that when you put the president's agenda at the ballot box, especially what we saw in April with the Supreme Court election, it is a winning one. And so what we have to do and what we will be focused on is investing early and often and reminding folks about the stakes and the choice that will be on the ballot box next year between a president who is focused on the real issues that matter to the American people and that very toxic and very rejected agenda that Donald Trump embodies.
Kevin Munoz with the Biden 2024 campaign. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
We'll be right back after this.
MG&E, building your community energy company for the future through the power of working together. Committed to cleaner, more sustainable energy, driven by innovation. fostered by shared values. Visit MGE2050.com.
This time of year, we gather, we celebrate, and we remember the things that matter most. For us, that's you. And you are why we do what we do. Each and every one of you are wonderful, amazing people. So we'll treat you that way on your journey of trusted care, because the way you feel matters. Unity Point Health Meritor, a partner of UW Health. Know how much you matter to this world.
Can we get real clear about life with psoriasis?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Is your treatment leaving you with uncontrolled symptoms? Like the cover-it-ups and brush-it-offs?
Enough with good enough.
Don't stay hiding or hurting. When your lotions and creams don't do enough to help treat the inflammation beneath the skin causing plaques and pain, it's time to get real about psoriasis so your dermatologist can help you get clear. Make the appointment and ask about Real Clear Skin.
News 3 is seeking top sales talent to join our media sales team. We're not just hiring, we're building careers. Apply at channel3000.com. Unlock your earning potential and be a part of something big.
A place where those in need can turn for a hearty, home-cooked meal.
There are plenty of soup kitchens. This is more than that.
In this season of giving, I'll show you how the Feed Your Soul program is expanding and cooking up more meals for people in southern Wisconsin, Monday at 10.
MG&E, building your community energy company for the future through the power of working together. Committed to cleaner, more sustainable energy, driven by innovation, fostered by shared values. Visit MGE2050.com.
Welcome back. It's been a busy year at the state capitol, including for one Madison lawmaker. From reproductive health to the state budget, State Senator Kelda Roys has been in the mix for many of these issues, and she joins us now. And thanks so much for being with us.
Great to be with you, Will.
Yeah, so obviously we're going to talk about the news of the week. First and foremost, the Board of Regents approved a deal cut between UW System President Jay Rothman and Republican lawmakers. What's your reaction to that deal?
Well, I think it's outrageous that the university was put in this impossible position because of the whims of one man, and that's Robin Vos. And the Republicans who lacked the courage to do what they said they privately wanted to do, which was fund the university. It is part of a 40-year project that Republican politicians have waged to try to undermine our public higher educational institutions. And UW should never have to beg and plead for funding. It is the most important economic engine of the state. They should be funded, and especially at a time when we have $4 billion surplus sitting in the bank.
And I know this has been kind of a fraught issue for Democrats. Obviously, in your district, you have UW-Madison. Obviously, you are wanting that funding, but there are these diversity, equity, and inclusion trade-offs. Do you think that that was a fair trade-off for the regents to make?
I don't think it's fair for Robin Vos to make these type of demands of the University of Wisconsin. We didn't make them of the Brewers, and every major corporation has some form of DEI initiative, right? Because we can't afford, our economy can't afford to leave people behind. Everyone needs to be able to perform to their fullest potential, and everyone deserves to feel included and a sense of belonging, and especially in higher educational institutions. I think it's important to note, though, that Robin Vos didn't really get a substantive win here. He got a headline, and that is bad enough, because we don't want him to have any symbolic victories, but he basically had backed himself into a corner, did a terrible job of negotiating, and was not able to extract major changes. Nobody's losing their job. I believe that the universities of Wisconsin are committed to diversity and to belonging and to making sure that all students have a chance to succeed. And they're going to do that regardless of what the titles of those positions are.
So one of the biggest issues over the last couple of years has been reproductive health, abortion. We've seen that in huge headlines recently with the Dane County ruling, bringing back abortion here in Wisconsin. Recently this week with the U.S. Supreme Court taking that mifepristone case. For viewers who might not be following along with this, where does this leave abortion here in Wisconsin, and where are we going to take this?
Well, I would say it is certainly more available now than it was in the year following Dobbs. You can make an appointment at clinics, a few clinics in Wisconsin for abortion, surgical, or medication. But the bottom line is that even under Roe v. Wade, abortion was still heavily restricted in Wisconsin. There has been so much political interference in these decisions that it's very hard. So we have women facing very dire situations in their pregnancy, forced to travel out of state. We still don't have enough capacity to meet the needs of healthcare generally, and certainly reproductive health care in Wisconsin. And that's why I think I've been so outspoken on everybody should be able to have medication abortion in your medicine cabinet before you need it. You can order it no matter where you are in this country. You can order it online from aidaccess.org, and they will ship it to you within a few days from states where the providers are protected. And that way we don't have to rely on politicians who we know the Republican Party of today is hell-bent on a national ban on abortion. They want every state to be like Texas, which is forcing women to go through the most horrific things in their lives and not be able to get health care. We don't want to see that future, and so we need to remain politically engaged. We need to unrestrict abortion access in Wisconsin, and we need to make sure that we are electing politicians who value reproductive freedom rather than want to ban abortion.
So we alluded to a little bit with the UW funding, but this is a big budget year, and you sit on the very powerful state legislative budget writing committee. For me, it's interesting to see how Democrats take that role, right? You're in the minority. There's not a ton that you can do with Republicans in the driver's seat for most of that. Were there any wins that you're able to kind of negotiate with Republicans for your Democratic base here?
Well, I mean, I think there were a few good things in the budget. We increased pay for our public defenders and our prosecutors, long overdue. You know, if you want to have public safety, it's really, really important to make sure that we have a well-functioning court system. And our courts have been overburdened for a long time, and it's not fair to victims, it's not fair to defendants, and it's not fair to society as a whole to have have people with too high of caseloads not making enough money. So that was a win, but there were so many things left on the table and so many terrible decisions that were made that as a whole, I think the budget was a big missed opportunity.
I was going to ask you next, what else was left on the table? I mean, it seems like with the UW funding wrapped up, that was one of the big things that I think especially Madison area Democrats wanted especially to see. What else would you have wanted?
Well, child care funding is a critically important one. We know that probably the most significant issue facing employers today is the workforce shortage. And a big reason for that is that we have had a 20-year slow-moving crisis in childcare with early childhood educators leaving the field because they just can't afford to do it. They're among the lowest paid people in any economic sector, even though many of them have degrees in their field. And then the pandemic just exacerbated that. So the federal government stepped in, and Wisconsin had a program called Child Care Counts, which helped provide stabilization funding to child care centers to stay open, to be able to hire and retain people so that you can keep classrooms open. But that money is expiring at the end of the year, and so Wisconsin needed to make about a $350 million investment to keep it going for the next 2 years. Obviously, the benefit is massive because then you have, about 100,000 parents that are able to be in the workforce. That now are going to have to scramble to find childcare as these centers close and as the number of slots for kids diminishes.
And I know one of the anecdotes that you keep sharing kind of throughout that push has been like as soon as you start, trying for a kid, then you have to start getting on these lists for these childcare centers.
Yeah.
Do you have a sense of, are there any backroom dealings at all? Is this an issue that we could see come back up in the new year here at all?
I'm hopeful because I do, this is an issue that affects every part of the state. It affects every employer. Even people who were at the budget hearings to testify about a different issue said, oh, and by the way, childcare really matters to us. And so, and I think, Republicans are going to have to do something to pretend they care about childcare. But the reality is that simply making it a benefit to go along with your employment or deregulating childcare is not going to solve the critical issue, which is that we just don't have enough providers because the pay is too low. And this needs to be publicly supported, just like K-12 education. We don't expect parents to be able to pay for their kids' elementary school, middle school, and high school. The most expensive and the hardest time to be a parent is when you have those young kids. It's in those early years, and that's also when most brain development happens. It makes no sense that we are not investing more in our youngest Wisconsinites, knowing that it will pay dividends for decades to come.
So as we look kind of at this cusp of 2023, 2024, what do you think was the biggest headline of this past year?
Oh, by far the win in April, the massive 11-point victory for Justice Janet Protasiewicz, which finally restores some fairness and balance to our state Supreme Court that has been dominated for decades by right-wing corporate special interests.
Well, State Senator Kelda Roys, thanks so much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Will.
We'll be right back after this.
This right here is confidence in a bottle.
Not only does it change you on the outside, but something in the inside, knowing that you're looking better.
It makes me feel so much more confident than I've ever felt in my life.
They are some of the hottest videos on social media. Those videos claiming to instantly get rid of bags under your eyes. Well, today we're going to see one for ourselves and let you be the judge. It's called Plexiderm, and lifestyle expert Annette Figueroa is here to tell us why she says this one is for real.
This one is for real, and I'm so excited. We even have a video, and you'll notice the model has bags underneath his eyes and some sagging, and all he uses is a small amount on a clean, dry face, and that's how easy it is.
All right, what's the active ingredient?
Okay, so it's silicates that are minerals found in shale rock, and what it does is it tightens and lifts the appearance of bags underneath your eyes, and as little as 10 minutes, no prescriptions, and very little effort. Even watching the video, this is a real, it's a model, but it's a real guy with real bags underneath his eyes.
My real true opinion is holy words I can't say on camera. This is absolutely unbelievable. I mean, I could feel it just lifting my skin. It was amazing. It feels good. Feels great. Looks even better.
And I did this to my father. We were at home. So we applied it to his under eye bags. And let me tell you, we were so excited. In under 10 minutes, they visibly disappeared from view. And now it is literally part of both of our daily routines. He calls me every single month saying, "Hey, Annette, I'm out of Plexiderm, please send me more." And not only does it work on the bags, it works on the appearance of crow's feet, fine lines, and wrinkles. The way you want to do it is you want to have a clean, dry face. You use a small amount because it's so powerful. You have high school reunions, you have events you want to go to, you want to look years younger, this is it.
This holiday season is the best time to try Plexiderm at our startup price of only $14.95. Your solution is at plexidermtrial.com or call the number on your screen.
To end this morning, as we look ahead to next week, stay tuned with us as we continue our series of year-end interviews with power players at the state capitol. And that does it for us this week. I'm Will Keneally. Have a great rest of your weekend.
This has been For the Record.